Hi, and welcome to The Curling Show, the podcast that brings you interviews with the sport's top athletes and the people who shape the game. Brought to you by Fit to Curl, a sport-specific guide to training for the world's greatest game by 2010 Olympic gold medalist and Team Martin third John Morris, with a bit of help from me, Dean Gemmell. While following the programs in Fit to Curl will help you look better at the beach this summer, the real payoff is next fall when curling season starts again and you don't have to try to play your way into shape. Get your copy at fittocurl.com or at your favorite pro shop or curling equipment supplier. The newest member of the Canadian Retired Curlers Association, Richard Hart, welcome back to The Curling Show.
Thanks, Dean. Good to be back.
Well, you know, I'm calling you in the office at 8 a.m., so I guess you're not kidding about devoting enough time to the day job.
Yeah, we start pretty early around here. I'm usually in around 6:30, and they're long days, but it's good work here.
You know, it wasn't a complete surprise to hear that you were leaving the game, but it wasn't wholly expected either. You said you've been talking about it with your wife for 4 or 5 months, trying to figure things out, and you had to arrive at some decision. Are you really comfortable with it yet?
No, absolutely not. I think it definitely was a really difficult decision and one that we didn't take lightly. But I think after you actually, you make the call and you talk to the guys and you go through it all, you have second thoughts. I think for sure, because it's permanent. I know you don't just you don't just quit one of the best teams in the world and decide 2 weeks later that you've made a bad decision and pick up where you left off. So I mean, it's permanent, and I think with any big decision, you always have second thoughts, but it's new, so we're gonna work through it, and it's gonna be a long couple of weeks here, and then I think it'll die down, and we'll forget about it, and then when curling starts up again in September, October, it's gonna be tough again.
That was my question, actually. How you think you'll feel next season when you're, at home watching the first Grand Slam of the year? You had a bit of that this year when you watched the team compete in the Canada Cup, which had to be sort of a strange feeling, and I guess it's going to be strange again next year.
Yeah, for sure it will. I mean, I don't know for how long, but I would think probably the whole first season you're gonna feel like that's your team out there, and you're gonna have those feelings, wishing you were still there. But I'm gonna stick to it, and my plan is to try to go at least a full year without maybe playing in a couple of fun things and not really thinking about it. It's not the game that I was really trying to get away from. I mean, I still love curling, but it's just the time commitment, and to play it at the highest level like our team has been doing. It's just too much to have a job and a family and be able to find balance in your life. So that's really what I was trying to change. So I may find in a year or 2 years, 3 years, I might want to have a team here in Ontario and go on a couple of Bonspiels. I'm sure you're aware that Ontario's got a great little curling tour here where you could play almost every weekend in a town and play, have a good competitive experience. So I may look at doing something like that, but the first year I'm definitely looking forward to taking off and having some family vacations.
That's the Peter Corner model, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that guy knows what he's doing. He's got a job and a family, and he knows that you just that high level that our team had been going at. That's not for everybody, and I mean that it's making our curlers better. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
The game has definitely changed the last 10 years, and the curlers are getting better, and I think that's good. I mean, that's what the Olympics have done. I mean, Canada's curlers are better than ever. But we're really leaning towards having professionals, I think, or at least semi-professionals, guys who really dedicate their entire winter to curling. So that's the direction, and that's good. That's good for curling. The fans get to watch better players and better shot making, and it's just not. I'm still. When I started curling and signed up for it, that's not what I signed up for. It was kind of a hobby and something that I wanted to be able to do with my spare time, and it just slowly mutated. I kept getting, I was getting pushed and pushed to play more and more, and because I had to if I wanted to be the best. And finally, the last year or so, I just said, wow, I don't have any balance in my life. I need to look at this, and you're constantly left, Dean, with this feeling of never really satisfying anybody. You're and especially yourself. You're at work, you're sort of given 80%, and family 80%, and then curling 80%. And you're like, when do I get to give it my all? And there's nothing left there's not enough there for everybody to get 100%, and it's kind of a shitty feeling. So
yeah, I imagine it is. There's
that's sort of where it started from, and I don't want to be I don't want to be on a team where I'm not able to give everything, and same thing here at work, and it's it was a really really tough decision. I haven't even really touched on the toughest part is, and it's a really funny thing, because as my wife and I started talking about this, it just got more and more complicated, and you start realizing, our whole life is really surrounded by curling, and all our friends are in curling, and then I started thinking about my relationship with the guys, with my team. These guys are my best friends. These guys, I really, through the winter, I spend more time with them than I do my family, and what's going to happen to our relationship, and what's it going to look like in a year? And yeah, we're going to be friends for the rest of our lives, but it'll never be the same as it's been the last 7 years. And that was a really sad thought. It's not going to be the same. But we're going to work hard and still try to be great friends. But they're going to be busy winning championships, I think.
Right. I mean, when your old teammate George Carrice there broke the news on the Curling News blog, and they're you did talk about, you also mentioned, we thought about Blake McDonald, who stepped away for similar reasons. But you did mention that both the friendship and the balance in your life, those issues. And it's interesting because, those weekends away, maybe they're selfish, but now not to have them is brutal, isn't it?
Well, I don't know yet, but I may experience that halfway through next season. I might be calling people asking if they need a spare. Who knows?
Yeah, I always thought, traveling with the curling team, there's guys who don't curl at your level, of course, or don't curl at all, and for them, they get a golf weekend with 3 other guys once a year, right?
Right. That's
curlers, you get to go away with 3 other good friends, and you curl, and you're doing something you love, but probably more than playing golf for $5 a round, and to take that away is tough.
It is. Yeah, sometimes we go away curling and golfing.
Right.
It'd be great. We've had a couple trips over to Scotland and had amazing trips there. I mean, I could go on all morning about the great times we've had, but they're great weekends that we have tons of fun, as well as get a chance to compete at the highest level. So it's something that it's pretty special if you're a high level curler.
You're surely on the short list of one of the game's all-time great thirds. Interestingly, and it was another thing that came up in the article with George, was you spent 21 years with just 2 skips, Mike Harris and Glenn Howard. You couldn't have played for 2 guys who threw the rock so differently either. One the consummate artist, the other the ultimate technician. Compare those 2 guys.
Yeah, for sure. They are definitely very different, and I always said, Mike and I learned how to curl together. The first 10 years we were in our 20s and then into our early 30s together, and Mike was such a natural. I mean, he don't be fooled. He may, he was, maybe not the most traditional way that he threw the rock, but man, he always got it on line and terrific weight, and he's a guy that. I wouldn't be surprised to see him contend one of these days for the Ontario Championship again. If anybody could really, take a run at Glenn and the guys, I still think his name, even though he hasn't been there the last few years, he's got something that a lot of guys don't have. And Mike always, the one thing you knew when you were playing with Mike, you always had a chance to win the Bonspiel. And there's other guys out there who aren't like that. You could go out, you could play 6 Spiels with Mike, and you'd win 2 of them. And then the other 4 you'd finish in last place. I mean, it was, but just knowing you had a chance going to a Bonspiel, there's something to be said for that, as opposed to, would you rather play for a guy who, you go in every Bonspiel and you finish in 5th or 6th place every single weekend, but you never really have a chance to win. So when you play with Mike, you always had a chance to win, but you had a chance to be dead last too. So it was quite a roller coaster ride.
There you go.
But,
surely one of the smartest guys in the house ever too.
Wasn't he? Yeah. I really enjoy listening to him doing the broadcast now, and it actually really gives me that feeling of when I used to play with him. Listening to him talk and the way he sees the game, and amazing skip and a great friend, and almost as maybe even a better broadcaster. I mean, the guy is. I don't know what your feelings are, but I really enjoy listening to him.
I think I've always. I think the TSN broadcast got a lot better this year, but I've always, to be honest, favored the CBC coverage of the slams lately. And I do like that booth. I mean, I like Mike in the booth a lot.
Yeah.
You flipped over to play with Glenn then, and I think there was a bit of an adjustment period there. For one thing, Glenn was skipping for the first time, I think, when you started playing with him, or relatively close to skipping for the first time, and sort of how did that all go?
Well, yeah, we started right after Mike and I finished up in 2000, I think. 2001 was our first season together. 2001 with Glenn, and he was brand new skip, and it took him 3-4 years to really get comfortable and have the confidence in himself, and really it's a different mentality skipping, right? Where it's kind of all or nothing. Your shots, either you make them or you don't. There's no in between, and it changes the way you sort of think about a shot and the way you throw a rock. And Glenn made those adjustments, and then next thing you know, he's the best skip in the world, and you knew he was going to figure it out. I mean, Glenn's a real natural when it comes to all sports. I mean, golf, curling. I mean, the guy he really is a natural, and he picked up on it with curling to become a skip, a great skip in 3-4 years is phenomenal. I mean, it takes a lifetime for most guys, and Glenn was always an amazing third and one of the best ever, and to make that transition into skipping, you don't see that very often. I mean, most skips are born and raised skipping, and they sort of skip their whole life, and they're different people. They're a little kooky, and they're usually a little out there. And Glenn wasn't like that. You couldn't meet a more normal guy, and I always thought that was going to hold him back as a skip. He was too normal, but he overcame it, and really he made the adjustments. And I mean, we've all seen what he can do, and it was amazing to be a part of it, and sort of go through those transition years, and then just enjoy watching him be the best for so many years.
Talking about a guy like Glenn who throws the rock so pure, and then I've joked a lot on the show about artists like you, Richie, and how great you guys are, despite the fact that it looks so different than Glenn. I think I talk about it a lot because it gives us the rest of us hope, right? That we can we can look funky and make some shots. But I think I've talked to you about this before. But do you think you go to you watch a golf tournament these days, and the swings are incredibly similar, right? Almost sanitized now. And do you think, or do you fear that maybe curling is sort of moving that direction? You go to junior events and you see almost every junior throw exactly the same way.
Wow, this is it's a great topic, and I do have lots of opinions on it. Well, look at the top players in the game right now.
That's my point.
Very few of them throw the rock the way that they teach.
The way it's taught. I've said, yeah.
We've got 2 Tuckers just won the World Championship. Who's teaching a kid how to tuck slide these days, and why aren't they? It's obviously a proven method. Why is that not being looked at? You look at deliveries like Mark Kennedy and Randy Ferbey, and even Kevin Martin for that matter. I mean, the worse Kevin throws it, the better he's gotten. Like Kevin, I've played against Kevin, since the mid '90s when he just threw it straight as an arrow and didn't make as many shots back then as he does now. And I would even say the same thing for Glenn. Glenn got better when he learned to miss the broom a little bit and sort of start hooking the rock a little bit, and that's when you start making better shots. And Kevin got these two great sweepers a few years back, and he just keeps throwing it tighter and tighter, and just keeps getting by guards. It's unreal to watch, and that's what's going to end up happening. But it's really interesting for me to see and look at all the different guys at the top of the game and how all of them develop their own style, and that's what I think should really, I got two young kids who are just starting out in curling, and that's what I'm going to try to teach them is just figure it out yourself, find what's comfortable, and there is no right way to do it. Just get out there and try to make some shots, and I think that that's the future of the game, I think.
Yeah, I really agree with you there. The notion that nobody, the top players in the world, Kevin Koe, I mean, nobody's throwing it the way it's taught is fairly bizarre, actually, that we don't.
There's another great one. Yeah, Kevin Koe, I mean, the guy, he throws it super straight, but, he still lifts the rock. I mean, nobody lifts the rock anymore, but, that's another great example. Blake McDonald was a lifter, that was last year's world champion,
right.
So you go back, and then the year before, Martin, I guess Murdoch won the Worlds, but the year before that, Martin does, and, John Morris, he throws it a little differently. He, brings the rock to the center of the hack. They don't teach that, and then Kevin, he's pretty close to the way they teach it, but again, center hack guy, and then the year before that was two lifters, Glenn and myself. We went it in 2007. So
right.
you look at the last 5-6 years of Canadian and world champions. They're all they all throw it differently, and I think that we need to embrace that and look for our future champions to be a little different than just that basic delivery that you see being taught and coming up.
Interesting point on the lifting of the rock. That's in Russ Howard's book, Play to Win. He says that everybody should practice that, even if they don't do it during a game, that they should at least practice lifting the rock from time to time.
Really?
Yeah, he suggests that, and I know some other guys. Well, Matt Hames, who I played with for years there, Matt. He's a big believer in that.
Well, yeah.
And I think there is something to that. It sort of forces you to get out behind the rock, I guess, or something. But I think there is some value in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the no lift is a great change in the game, and you see, I've fooled around and tried my best to go to it, but it just doesn't quite feel right for me. I think that's been a great change. But that's interesting that Russ says that he thinks that even if you are a no lifter, you should at least fool around with it and try to experience it a little bit, eh?
Yeah, that's what's in his book. I think it's good advice. Of course, I grew up lifting the rock, and then I don't now. But
so you made that adjustment, right?
Yeah, I only did it because I was playing one spiel a year, and I couldn't remember how to lift it anymore.
Your leg was sore. You kept hitting it with the rock.
Exactly. I couldn't figure out how to swing it by anymore, so I said, well, I guess I won't. Hey, the first time you were on the show was when you had captured the 2006 Ontario title, and amazingly at the time, your first Purple Heart.
Yeah.
Then you go and don't let anyone else win the province for the next 6 years, and you touched on this a bit already, but that kind of run, where you're, you beat Pete Corner a few times in the final, an example of a guy who's playing the smaller schedule and is still a good player. But is that kind of run an indication of a further indication of just how the separation between the very top teams and the next tier of very good teams has really opened up and widened?
Yeah, it's a perfect example of that, and that's our team. We're very consistent, and we're able to go to those events and play our best, and that's what top teams can do, right? Is you get more consistent and you're able to be your best more often. But you're going to see that more and more, and the guys who play week in and week out are going to continue to get better, and then the guys who don't have the time, and it's not a talent thing, right? It's just it's a matter of putting the time into the game, and the guys who just play locally. I mean, you're going to see Glenn's not going to win every single year, but he might actually. Now that I say that,
yeah.
I mean, it's tougher. It's going to be tougher and tougher for those upsets to happen. But they're still out there, and you're still going to see it a little bit, but not much. You look at Manitoba, same thing. It's been Stoughton has been to 5 of the last 6, I think, and all the Briars that I went to, the last 6, think Stoughton was at 5 of them, and Burtnick was at 1.
That's right. Yeah, I think that's about right. Since 06.
Same thing in Alberta. I had Martin at 5 of them, and Cooey was at 1 of them.
Right.
There's not a lot of change.
There's not a lot of guys sneaking past those guys, right?
No. Pat Simmons, I think, went to 4 or 5 of them out of Saskatchewan, and Jordison was at 1, I think, and Corte was at 1 also. So it's the same guys. And I don't see that changing in the near future.
I do think it's time and talent. I mean, I think that sometimes we overestimate the fact that the most talented guys also happen to put in the most time sometimes. Right?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely it's a combination of both.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the talent, you're going to put more time in it at some point.
Sure. Totally agree with that. Yeah.
Hey, it's funny. I actually talk about Glenn. I mean, how long do you think he's going to be good for? Heath McCormick, another guy I know pretty well from Ontario, he's often said to me, he says, I can't see Glenn not playing well, till he's 60. Throws a rock so pure, doesn't seem to put any stress on his body. I mean.
Yeah, no, his knee started to bug him the last few years.
Oh, thank God. Good.
But he's been, the guy's been working out hard. He's got a trainer he goes to 2-3 times a week, and he's really putting in the work because he loves the game, and he's incredibly talented, but not many guys work at it harder than he does. And I don't know. I think he'll get burnt out and tired before his body gives up. That's for sure. I think he's going to take a run at these Olympics. He's going to go all the way right through to 2014, and then even if his body's still good, I don't know. He may look at a change then. I mean, that's what he sort of implied to me, that he just wanted to do one more run, but things change, right? And if he's the best in the world in 2014, I doubt he'll want to pack it in.
Right.
But he'll, mentally and physically, he'll still be there. The guy's, he's a grinder, and he's a tough guy, and the motivation never seems to go away with him, and it was amazing to be a part of. That's for sure.
Hey, for a guy who usually sounds like he's having a lot of laughs and fun on the ice, not that you're not a competitor either, but when the mic's on, you're having conversations with your teammates that I think are fun for people to listen in on. But you've also had a few occasional dust-ups with opposition players over the years. Perhaps the biggest one was your run-in with Ben Hebert at the 2009 curling trials. Have you and Ben talked about that since then?
We haven't talked about it, but we've definitely, buried the hatchet, and it's behind us for sure. But we've never really talked about the details of it. I think they were all there on camera.
There you go.
It was definitely a tense time, though. It was unfortunate that it came to that, and definitely one of my regrets that situation happened. I mean, I don't really regret my reaction to it, but I just wish it never happened. It just it wasn't a fun time for anybody. I don't think it was great for Ben. I think it was some bad press for him, and at the end of the day, I was a bad guy too, because I was the one who put it out there and didn't ignore it. I just said something about it, and I wish it had never happened for sure.
Sure. Any other regrets over? Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Any other regrets over 21 years of curling?
Oh, I'm sure there's some. I haven't really been focusing on them though. Other regrets.
What about a few memories that really stand out? I know from personal experience that you've seemed to recall everything that's happened on the curling ice when you've been on it.
I remember a lot of it.
I joked to you once about playing you in a junior bonspiel in 1989 or something, and you seemed to actually remember the game in a way that I never did.
Sure, I played against you. You were with Todd Brandwood, right?
Right. Yeah, you remember that the ice was straight, and
we played you at Avonlea.
Yeah.
Sheet 7, and it was ice was dead straight. A couple days after Christmas, and it was a close battle. I think I had to draw the 8-foot or something to beat you guys.
You did. I think it was an extra end, but
junior team at the time, and that was a big win for me. I remember.
But that's bizarre that you remember that, Rich, because you played about, like I said when I talked to you, you played 1,500 games since then.
Yeah,
and I played about 8.
You just remember certain things, And I think that was the year that we won the Spiel that year, so that that's another reason why you remember a lot of that stuff too.
Right.
And it's actually funny when Glenn and I get joking around. I remember his career better than he does a lot of the times. I'm like, I know, Glenn. Actually, no, that was the '89 Brier that you lost the semifinal. And he said, "No, are you sure, Rich?" He said, "Yeah, no, that's And then he'll go back. Yeah, you were right. Yeah."
I think Jerry at Curling Zone better get you, to help rebuild his stats and everything else.
Yeah, right. I don't know about all the stat stuff, but I definitely remember a lot of the wins and losses. So.
That 2007 World Championship helped with slay a few demons, I think, though, right? That I know that silver at the Olympics grated on you a bit. That helped a bit, didn't it?
Yeah, for sure. That was definitely one of the highlights of my career. Probably, the biggest one. And I think by winning it, really, when we won that 2007 championship, it really helped me to understand a lot of my feelings about, '98 and the disappointment that we had there. Where, curling's such a strange game, Dean, and I don't know if it's not all sport. I mean, you see other sports where they don't just celebrate the winners, right? But in curling, there's only one prize, and it's always that first prize, and that's fine if that's the way it is. But I said to Glenn, our team at the Briers, we're I don't know whether we're considered successful or not. But if you're any other sport and you say, Team Howard has been to 6 Briers and they've got 1 gold, 4 silver, and 1 bronze, and it was an amazing run, but we came up short in that final game 4 times. We probably should have won another 1 or 2 for sure, and instead of being really one of the most successful Brier teams over the last 6 years, we're not. We're in our sport, we're considered to be that to be a real failure almost. So it is what it is, and that's fine. But it's just that's where curling's different than a lot of other sports. So.
I tend to agree with you. It's brutal in that regard, actually. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, I know in the run-up to the last Olympic trials, Stephen Brunt, I guess, in the Globe and Mail said that he thought being Canada's Olympic representative was the hardest team to make. And I think, especially when you consider that you get nothing when you don't win that last game. I mean, it's just brutal.
Yeah. And that's why there's so much pressure, I guess, on that last game, too.
Right.
But, back to what I was saying there a little bit about 2007 and '98. I mean, '98 was an incredible experience too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, even I'm very proud of the silver medal that we won and that team. I mean, what we went through. I mean, nobody. We were really the only people who really had any. Even our families didn't really believe that we had much of a chance. And we went out to Brandon and won there, and then went to the Olympics and really didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. I mean, it was funny, Dean, because that was the first year that the Olympics were a medal sport. And even the CCA, the people who were coming as our representatives, they didn't even realize how big a deal this was going to be. And we, get into the middle of it and get over there to Japan, and it was just an amazing experience. And obviously disappointing that the last game went the way it did, and Mike got sick, and the whole thing. But what an experience, and I was definitely lucky to have gone through it. That's for sure.
It's a great point to make, though, that in '98, nobody really knew what they were getting into, right? You win and you go, and CCA was probably like, okay, we're taking some guys to the Olympics.
Yeah, It was a little like that for sure. And even as a curler, I grew up my whole life dreaming of winning the Brier.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to this Olympic thing. Everybody's telling me it's going to be a big deal. But, I've never watched curling at the Olympics because I've never been there. And so you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. And now it's this huge prize that is, seems to be so much bigger than anything else in curling. So the one thing about the Olympics, though, is it's about the experience. I mean, just being a part of that event is everything. I mean, I don't think, why is that medal why is my silver medal at the Olympics that much, more important than a silver medal at a World Championships? I don't get it. The only thing that's more important is that it was a bigger stage and something that I, got to experience that was totally different than anything else that other curlers have gotten to experience. really the difference should be mine, and it's not. It's everybody else's.
That's a good point.
It's a strange thing,
Yeah.
But I really feel lucky that I got a chance to go to the Olympics and experience it.
Final thought here before we get to the run back. You've talked about that team from '98 and how proud you were of those guys, and your team now, and you've certainly this team, and maybe you think you've been a Brier failure, but I'm going to go with not. It's been fun to watch you guys. You did talk about how this team, you guys played the game the way you wanted to, and it is a slightly different style than a lot of guys play right now, and you were able to grind, I thought, over the years. And I don't know if a loss to Nicholas Eden was really the way you wanted to go out, but at least in that game, once again, you guys sort of demonstrated that you grind when you're down, and I guess maybe the style of play you play allows you to come back. When I think most other teams now are basically front runners, right? They get out.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And if they're down, then it's big trouble.
You know what? Great question, because I did think of that. I had that same thought about a week ago or a few days ago when. I'm like, geez, you know what? That was my last game. We went down to Nicholas Eden, at the Tour Championship, and actually that is a great way to go out. I mean, that's the way we played. I mean, we were down 3, playing 7, and made a good deuce in 7, and then had a big steal in 8, and made them draw the forfeit to win in the last 10, and that's the way we played the game, and it actually might be fitting way to go down.
Yeah, there you go. We'll put that on it for you, Rich. Help you get through the next few weeks with that thought.
I like that, yeah.
All right. Hey, I'm going to finish with a run back. I'll give you a topic. You give me your thoughts in 1 to 3 words. Okay. Pat Simmons at third for Kevin Cooey.
It's neutral. I don't really think it's going to improve the team. Probably be about the same as with Blake there.
Yeah, maybe. That's probably a fair point. I don't know how that's going to work. But, in terms of shot-making ability, it's pretty similar.
Yeah.
Although Pat, at Skip has certainly been a human wrecking ball at times with.
Absolutely. But Blake, he was maybe a little up and down, but a great shot maker when it counted, and could always come up with that big game. Pat will probably be a little more consistent, and be interesting to see how they fit in. Pat's a little more straight laced, and Kevin and the guys can whoop it up pretty good. So it'll be interesting to see.
That will be. The documentary on your team that was filmed this past season.
It was lots of fun to do. I'm really interested to see what the final product's going to look like. It's going to be, I have no idea. There's tons and hours of footage. Buck is an amazing guy, and it was great having him around this year. But I'm really curious to see what this thing's going to look like.
The new Team Furby lineup.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be the same as the old Team Furby. Good for those guys coming back, and obviously they love the game and they miss it. They're going to play hard. Be interesting to see what a year off has done to Dave, whether he's got that old magic. I mean, from being the best of the best. I mean, Dave was, in his prime, was the best ever, I think. And it'll be interesting to see if he can get that magic back.
The Mark Nichols hiatus. A lot of guys getting out of the game.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. I hope Mark comes back. He's a young guy with lots of talent. Thought it was strange that he announced it at the Brier, though, didn't you?
Well, I said that on the show, I thought, because it was sort of a tacit statement that he didn't think they'd win the Brier.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
Because if they did win, surely he has to rethink it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I thought the timing was really strange, actually. I don't know what to...
I mean, I've been thinking about this for quite a while, and the one thing that I was really concerned about is I didn't want it to affect our season, and I wanted to, play hard right to the very end, and I didn't want to be that lame duck third at an event where everybody knows you're going, and I just wanted the season to be over and it be like a regular season, and then have it sort of happen, but. I don't know. It made me think that maybe Mark heard rumors that Brad was looking around for another player or something. I don't know. It was strange, but I really hope Mark gets back in the game.
Well, I think he's going to be back next January.
Yeah, he's too talented to be sitting at home, and I think he's got a lot of passion for the game still.
The royal wedding this week.
Well, my wife and daughter are planning on watching it. I know that for sure.
Really?
I think I can wait for the highlights.
There you go. You can watch the PBR.
Yeah, for sure.
And finally, playing seniors in 8 years or thereabouts.
I might have a big mixed career ahead of me. I haven't really thought about seniors though. So,
mixed? I hadn't heard about that.
Well, my wife's been bugging me for years. She said, when are you going to come and play mixed? And I always said never. So now I've got all this time on my hands. I have a feeling I might get railroaded into it.
Well, that's not a bad idea. 3 weekends.
Yeah, it might be fun. I don't know. We'll see. But definitely curling's going to be different for me over the next 5 to 10 years.
All right, Rich. As you know, I give everybody a chance to name their sponsors. You've had some good ones over the years. You won't have any next year, I guess, but you've had some great ones.
Well, first, obviously Swiffer was a new sponsor for Team Howard this year, and an amazing company, Procter & Gamble, and I really hope they stick with curling because they're new at it, but great company. JVC, I curled 10 years with Mike, 11 years with Glenn, 21 years JVC has been my team sponsor. Did you know that?
I did know that they were always with you.
21 years. I don't know if there's another company in Canada who's been involved in curling that long, that consistently, and without sponsorship like that. Wow, where does that leave you? That's a big part of any success I had. JVC, Hartwell Electric, Balance Plus. Everybody here who will be listening to this knows Balance Plus, big name in curling and amazing equipment, and they're just huge supporters of our team. And last but not least, the new biggest sponsor in curling, the Dominion Insurance. These guys, we've all seen what they've been doing with curling and the club championship that they run, and the teams they support. They've been a big supporter of Team Howard, and thank you very much to the Dominion for all they do for curling.
Yeah, they really have stepped up, the Dominion. But all those companies, good for them. Like you mentioned JVC. That's been huge for you. To have somebody that consistent that you're not scrambling for every year, and
21 years though. Wow, that's amazing.
Any tips for young guys coming out when they get sponsors? How you manage it?
Well, that's a great question. Look at JVC. We weren't getting big bucks at the beginning, that's for sure. We were. I'll tell you what our first deal was, and it may sound crazy to a lot of people, but that's how it starts. Our first deal, the first year we played together, JVC gave us a check for I think $5,000, and we were all 22 years old, so we didn't have $1,000 each to write a check for our curling seasons. They gave us $5,000. We paid them back half of our winnings to $5,000, and we had a great year. We won $10,000 that year, and they got all their money back.
Wow.
So basically, it was just an insurance policy.
They fronted
us, so
you.
We didn't have to risk our own money.
Right.
And that's how it got started. And look at that. So it doesn't sound like much, but to us, we, to be playing for somebody else's money, that meant a lot. And that was the first deal. And then the next year, I think it went to $10,000 with $5,000 payback. So the sponsorship only costed them $5,000, and because we won enough, and it just went from there.
That's an interesting.
You got to be creative a little bit with these with companies, and realize you're just getting started, and sometimes there's not a lot of upside for these companies to come in. So you gotta be willing to make a few deals that are a little different.
That's an interesting thought. Get somebody to front you basically, and then say, "Well,
I wanted to curl, and
right.
I didn't want it to have to cost me money, right?
Right.
So it just gave me the insurance. Obviously that changed over the years, but
right.
That's how it got started.
Well, hey, Rich, thanks for your time as always. Pleasure to talk to you. I know you'll be missed by fans. I think people enjoyed watching you play, enjoyed how you played the game, enjoyed your banter on the mic. So we'll miss all that, but enjoy the rest of the summer, or enjoy the summer that's sort of getting underway, and try to get through next curling season.
Yeah, well, thanks very much, Dean. I've always enjoyed chatting with you too, and I'll be around. I don't know where, but I still love the game, and you'll, if nothing else, I'll be around to support some of my old friends for sure.
All right, Rich, take care.
Yeah, you too, Dean.
That's Richard Hart on The Curling Show, a conversation that we had just a few days after he announced that he would no longer be a part of Team Howard. You just heard Richard mention how hard Glenn Howard trains for curling. You can start building your body for your favorite sport by following the programs in Fit to Curl by John Morris. It's available at fittocurl.com and at Better Curling Pro Shops. Thanks for listening. Here's the pudding.
Salt blast screaming, Jim beaming, no 2 grains of sand are alive. Sow the seed, reap the speed, angel's wing on a Chinese kite, yeah!